Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello, listeners. Welcome to today's show. I have a very important guest with me, folks. I have Gayle Lantz with me on the line. Gayle has been consulting and speaking since 1998. The content she speaks on and works with people is leadership and how to make work matter at all levels. I'm very interested in hearing about that. Gayle speaks primarily in the U.S., and she's based out of Alabama. She has written a book called Take the Bull by the Horns, The Busy Leader's Action Guide to Growing Your Business and Yourself. And she's also been a co-author of a book called Happiness Recipe, where it is a bestseller. So, Gayle, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Andy. Good to be here.
We're happy to have you here, Gayle. Let's talk about your leadership consulting and speaking business and such. So, tell us how you're helping people.
Well, I help people in different ways. Oftentimes, I'm working directly with executives at the top to make sure that they're as effective as they can be and being strategic as they grow their business and being most effective as they're managing their teams. So that's one way in which I'm helping people and organizations is making sure that executives are operating at their best. And then other times I'm working with the organization as a whole, where I'm engaging all employees in opportunities to be thinking differently, to be showing up as more accountable, being more engaged in their work. So depending on the objectives of the project, sometimes I'm working with the organization as a whole as well. And then other times it could be small groups where I work not only with large organizations but with small businesses, and I run a few what I call mastermind groups or senior executive peer groups that are comprised of business owners and executives that like to meet on a regular basis and exchange ideas and get objective feedback and perspective. So that's a fun service offering that I've enjoyed being a part of for a number of years, and is of great value to people who feel like they're operating alone or feeling like they don't have the peer support that they would like to make sure that they're making best decisions in their business. So those are some of the main areas of focus in my work. Should I keep talking?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, I lost you there for a second. I beg your pardon. Now, when you're working with the top-tier bosses, what is it, because you said you're helping them optimize to be at their best. So what do you do? What's the process you go through to do that?
Well, oftentimes it's figuring out what they want to see be different. Sometimes they just know that they're extremely stressed or that their team doesn't seem to be functioning well. There could be conflict. There could be political sensitivities. Sometimes they just feel like they're not strong enough in a specific skill set. Maybe they want to work on their communication, presenting, strategic thinking. So it really varies depending on the person. But the starting point is to figure out what do they want to see be different, what could be improved, and how would that make an impact for them personally and in the business. So once we start there, the process can really vary depending on the person. We might be meeting in person, or sometimes I work with clients only by phone to make sure that they're clear, that they have someone that they can bounce some ideas off of. I'm a good sounding board. I tend to do a lot of listening, which is unusual to find as well for people who are so busy in the workplace. Sometimes they just appreciate the fact that they can turn to someone who can help them think better. And so that's often a role that I play, is just to let them process and come out the other side with more clarity and direction about what they need to do in their work or in their business.
Okay, that's
very rewarding.
That's fascinating. So what kind of background do you have that gave you the ability to do this?
Well, I think I have a lot of natural ability. I worked in a managerial role in a very large financial services organization before I started my business. And I knew at that time that I wished that I could have confided in someone on the outside, could have had someone to help me think more clearly as I was trying to make important decisions. And so I actually sought out an executive coach on my own when I was with a large organization. And in working with that person, they said, I think you'd be really good at doing what I do. And the more we talked through it, it just seemed to make sense. My degree is in psychology. I've always had an interest in understanding how people do make decisions, how they go through transitions, especially how they grow and develop. So it just seemed to be a natural way for me to evolve my career when I left the corporate world. And then once I started my business, I have participated in all kinds of coach training programs and consulting programs. I am a student always, so I'm constantly learning, and I think that helps me be most effective when I'm able to work with clients who feel the same way. I essentially became the person that I most needed to have when I was in a managerial role. I wish that I had someone like me, so hopefully I can help more people, and I understand where they're coming from when they feel like they don't have someone to turn to.
Right. Now, before the interview, we talked, and you said you're more of a consultant first, speaker second, correct?
Correct, yes. Speaking is more of an adjunct to what I do at the moment. The consulting and coaching work is the primary core of my service offerings, but I love speaking to the right audience and being in front of groups where I can help make an impact. So it's nice to have the variety in my business. I really like having different ways in which I can serve different people and different groups.
Okay, so let's take a little attention to your book real quick. You wrote a book called Take the Bull by the Horns, The Busy Leader's Action Guide to Growing Your Business and Yourself. And I would imagine that's been well received.
It has, I think, primarily because it's an easy read. I know that the leaders and executives that I serve have so little time, and sometimes they just want substance on the go. That's how I often describe it. So there's one short chapter per week that you could read. There are 52 chapters. There are questions that are embedded in the material of the book, too, so that you can have just a thinking question and an action question to do your best work. So it covers a lot of different aspects of leadership and running a business. And so I think that it can appeal to a lot of different people who kind of want quick and, like I said, quick information that can really be applied right away. It's not, I would not consider it an academic work at all. It's more practical, and this gives people the guidance that they need as they're going about their leadership journey.
Can you give us some examples of the tips and stuff in there so that the listeners can get a feel for that?
Sure. Like half of the book is really devoted to business growth, and the other half is more focused on personal growth and development. One of the first chapters that you'll find is on visioning, and it gives you some exercises that you can think through if you want to clarify what your vision is, both for your vision and for yourself. And so, it talks about how to create a compelling vision. And one of the questions is, what ways can you anchor the vision for your business? And then an action step is, what step will you take to make sure the vision is as clear and compelling as possible by when? So those are typical coaching questions that you'll find throughout the book to help people take action. Let's see, I have one chapter on creating higher value. Take a look at your value proposition. And one of the questions is, what is the highest value that you're creating for your customers or your clients? And then what can you do to increase the value that you provide? What would be your first step? So the book is oriented around simple, easy steps that you can take to move yourself and your business forward. And like I said, it's designed to be a very quick and easy read, but something that will make a positive impact.
Now, a minute ago you said, and how can you anchor that? But what did you mean by how can you anchor that?
Well, oftentimes people brush over the vision and they don't really spend a lot of time making it stick. So anchoring your vision is a way of making it stick. Sometimes you can create some kind of visual. It might be a mind map. It could be a metaphor, an analogy. It could be anything that's a little more tangible to keep in front of you. So there are different ways that organizations can anchor their visions, and I've included some examples in the book.
Are you working with small business owners too, or mostly, or what's kind of the percentage breakup that you're doing?
I work with both. I would say it's about a 50-50 split. I've worked with very large organizations like NASA and Southern Company and Mass Mutual, and then I've got a number of small and mid-sized businesses that I work with as well. To me, it's all about leadership and finding the right person who wants to grow, who's serious about developing themselves and helping others grow at the same time, and being more strategic about how they're growing their business.
Okay. Do you find small business owners more apt to get it and work it, or is it kind of the same across the board?
There are different challenges. I think not that executives in large organizations can be overwhelmed, but you often hear small business owners challenged by having so many different ideas, bright, shiny objects that they're looking at, going down multiple paths instead of being as strategic as they need to be. They also try to do too much themselves, I find. So oftentimes in larger organizations, you might have better support, or you can delegate more work. In small businesses, sometimes you're serving multiple roles in one person, or you just don't have the same breadth of resources that you might have in a large company. So there are different kinds of challenges, but the people issues are certainly very similar when you're trying to manage a team and deal with interpersonal dynamics and political sensitivities. People are people everywhere. So those kinds of things, I think both large and small businesses share in common.
Now, small business owners, I can say from experience, have shiny object syndrome, that you mentioned a little bit ago. So what's your advice to them to prevent that, eliminate that, or at least squelch it?
Well, it's interesting. We touched on vision. I like to reorient them around the vision. Where are you really trying to go? What are you really trying to accomplish? And then how can you justify that what you're looking at will support that? A lot of times you'll follow something just because it's interesting or because you've seen other people who are doing something that you think might make sense to you, but it really doesn't. It makes sense in their business. So I think you have to continue to reorient yourself around your ultimate goal and figure out what that picture looks like, and then ask yourself, and what I'm doing really aligned with where I'm trying to go? Is there a direct correlation? And you have to argue that point so that you can start minimizing the distractions. Part of being an effective business owner is not going for the new ideas all the time, but it's becoming skilled at deflecting the things that are getting in your mind and in your way. So that's a lot of what I'm doing with my clients that are small business owners or entrepreneurial types, is learning what you can say no to, because that's really hard.
That in itself is a skill, isn't it?
It is, and it's one that sometimes people don't think about, even in how you manage your time. What will you say no to? Mm-hmm. Sometimes people are committing to being on board or committees, and they just feel so overwhelmed. And so I really encourage entrepreneurial types especially to think through, what is it that you want to be spending your time on that will help make the impact. Right.
Interesting. Well, I've done a lot of entrepreneurial stuff myself, and I like I said, the shiny object syndrome is a nasty one.
Yes.
Now, real quickly, you said you had co-authored a book, Happiness Recipe, and that was a bestseller.
It was. I went to number 1 on Amazon.
Fantastic. Did you want to mention anything about that?
The piece that I contributed had to do with finding happiness in the workplace, and so I think that it's important for people to pay attention to what they enjoy and the skills that they do best, the strengths that they do best. So a lot of what I talk about, and not just in that book, but in general, is the importance of staying close to what you do well and what you enjoy doing, and trying to find outlets for that instead of trying to adapt so much to do work that really isn't a clear fit for you, or to work on projects that aren't fulfilling to you. To me, the name of the game is continuing to be aware of what lights you up so that you can be better at your work and contributing at the highest level in the business.
Absolutely.
And that goes for people at all levels, especially business owners as well.
Okay. Well, Gayle, how can people learn more about you and get a hold of you should they want to hear you speak?
They can go to my website, workmatters.com, which is probably the best way to find out about my work or business. And There are lots of free resources on that site, including a free app that I developed called My Daily Coach. It gives you a little coaching tidbit each day, a question or thought to think about. So I encourage folks to check out workmatters.com.
Okay, well, Gayle, thank you so much for pulling back the curtain and giving us a peek into what's going on. You gave some great tips, and I know the listeners will appreciate that.
Good. Happy to do so.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.